In the previous video, we came up with this equation to model a boat that travels downstream and upstream a total of 80 miles in each direction with a current in the water equal to 9 miles per hour, with the total trip taking 6 hours and 40 minutes. Now that we have the correct equation, we'll need to solve for R, the rate of the boat. In order for us to begin tackling this equation, we're going to try to clear all three of those denominators. And we're going to do that by multiplying both sides of the equation by the least common denominator, which in this case would be 3 times r plus 9 times r minus 9. We're going to make sure that every term is multiplied by this quantity. So we'll have 3 times r plus 9 times r minus 9 multiplied by 80 over r plus 9 plus, again, 3 times r plus 9 times r minus 9 multiplied by 80 over r minus 9 equal to, and once again, we'll have 3 times r plus 9 times r minus 9 times, in this case, 20 divided by 3. Now, if it helps, you might want to write this with a denominator of 1 to remind you that when you multiply fractions, you multiply the numerators and you multiply the denominators. And that if we find any matching factors in the numerator and the denominator, we can go ahead and divide them out. For example, in this first term, we have an r minus 9 factor in the denominator and an r plus 9 factor in the numerator. Sorry if I said that wrong, they're both r plus 9. So what we're left with in that first term is 3 times r minus 9 times 80. In the second term, we have an r minus 9 factor in the denominator and another r minus 9 factor in the numerator. So after simplifying, we are left with 3 times r plus 9 times 80. Finally, on the right-hand side, we have a factor of 3 in the denominator and a factor of 3 in the numerator. So what we're left with is r plus 9 times r minus 9 times 20. Now at this point, we have an equation that looks a lot simpler to solve, and it is because we no longer have any denominators. But I always believe that if we can simplify along the way, it'll save us some headache at the end. I have 2 terms on the left and 1 term on the right, and it looks like I can divide all 3 of them by 20. So let's consider doing this. If we divide all 3 terms by 20, we'll end up with some smaller numbers, and we'll still have an equation that is perfectly balanced. So we see here that 20 goes into 80 4 times, 20 goes into 80 4 times, and 20 goes into 20 1 time. So let's see what we're left with. We have 3 times r minus 9 in the first term, and we'll multiply that by a 4, plus 3 times r plus 9 in the second term, and again, we need to multiply that by 4. And on the right, we just have r plus 9 times r minus 9. Now, this looks a lot better, and the numbers are a lot smaller and easier to work with. Let's go ahead and clean this up. We have 12 times r minus 9 plus 12 times r plus 9 equals, I'm going to go ahead and distribute on the right. R plus 9 times r minus 9 can be written as r squared minus 81. Now let's distribute on the left. We have 12r minus 108 plus 12r plus 108 is equal to r squared minus 81. There are a couple of things that will add up to 0. We have here a negative 108 and a positive 108. So on the left, we actually have 24r as the only term, and on the right, we'll have r squared minus 81. It's looking better and better with each step. Now this looks like it's a quadratic equation, and let's go ahead and write it in standard form by subtracting 24r from both sides. So we have that 0 is equal to r squared minus 24r minus 81. Thankfully, the trinomial on the right is factorable. Two numbers that multiply to negative 81 that add up to negative 24 are negative 27 and positive 3. So we'll factor this as r minus 27 times r plus 3. Using the zero product rule, it must be that either r minus 27 is equal to 0 or that r plus 3 is equal to 0. That gives us two solutions, either r is 27 or r is negative 3. At this point, we have to remind ourselves what it is that we were trying to model. We were talking about the speed of the boat. It doesn't make sense for a speed to have a negative value. That means that we only have one viable solution, and in this case, it is that the rate of the boat is 27 miles per hour.